Thanks. That's actually a few lines from a poem that my 8th grade teacher gave to me. And I have to say it has nothing to do with my presentation. I just liked it a lot. And I also want to say a big thank you to Sarita. Is she here? Because Sarita has specially told me that because she's depriving us all of tea, she's going to throw a big champagne reception for us right afterwards. So if there's anybody who actually would like to get tea, please do, because I know you've been here for a couple of hours now. Okay, so my name's Aparna. I have a number of hats that I've worn in my life. I think today we have had a number of sessions of speakers who've been very inspiring on the big picture, like having a dream, following a purpose, just like the video I also shared. What I would like to take you through in the next 15 minutes is about the daily life. Okay, how do you actually fulfill that bigger picture? You have the dream, you have the purpose, you know where you want to go, you want to be empowered, but how do you actually get there? So that's what I've been studying for the last 10 years, and I will share some of those ideas. This Working Out of the Box is my first book, and I'll tell you the story of how it happened. I graduated from business school about 20 years ago from Harvard, and my father asked me to run our office furniture business. And that was growing very fast at that time with all the dot-com companies. I will pretend that most of you were around at that time, but some of you may not have been. But basically, it was office furniture, and I had no idea about design because they didn't teach us anything about design in our MBA. And so then I started realizing that this is a business that requires interior designers and architects. It's a very creative business, graphic designers, furniture designers, product designers. I need to learn this very soon. So I collaborated with a friend who's an interior architect, and we started putting the perspective of the interior architect and the CEO together. Because some of you, I think, are in creative businesses, and you'll understand that the client's perspective and the creative's perspective are very, very different, right? So how do you put them together? So what we decided to do was we started writing these articles in a newspaper called The Mint, which featured the person. We said, let's put, before design thinking and empathy became these buzzwords that they are today, we said, let's have empathy for the person and put the person at the center and say, what can we tell about an office? Oh, Zarina, you're here before you leave. But since we're discussing offices, what was so special about the Disney office that when you looked at it, you immediately said, I need to leave? I was wondering about that. You can't. Okay, fine. We'll have a separate we'll have a separate conversation. It's got no life, yeah. So we were determined in our writing to find that life, okay, and to say this is the office of Mr. Kumar Birla. So we managed to somehow, persuade all these CEOs to snoop around their space and write what their space was. But what we were really trying to do through this column was to understand what a person's space tells about them and to realize more about how they do what they do. So you have a perception. Can anyone say one line about Mr. Kumar Birla that they might have read about in the papers, or they might know something about them? Can anyone just say one thing about them? He likes art, he's visionary. Okay, he's got this huge empire that is a multinational. Okay, we know all these things about the success, But how do you get there? That is what I was keen to understand. What does this person do on an everyday basis that helps us to understand how he got there and how we might get there? Okay, just to give you a sense of the profile, we had interviewed over 100 CEOs over time, and there were about 24% women, more than on average, but I was very keen to have more women in the cohort. And it was a mixed breakup between startups, promoters of large companies, and professionals. So it was just to give you, it was a really mixture of the Indian economy. I've looked at over 50 industries in this time, so we got a total mix. And this is what I discovered, that this was, for me, it was all about being in the driver's suite. Now, we know about the C-suite, we know about the CEO suite, we know about being in the driver's seat, but what is the driver's suite? So this is what I will share with you. And what I want to tell you about the driver's suite is that it matters to anybody who is leading a business. You could be leading a 10 lakh business, you could be leading a 10 billion business, you could be running an independent team for a company, you could be a solopreneur, whatever you are, this driver's suite matters to you in the same way. Okay, and this is the driver's suite. So what it basically says is there's this framework of saying that there are 5 intangibles that all of us manage on a day-to-day basis, okay? So D stands for decisions, R for relationships, I for ideas, V for values, and E for energy. I'll go into all of them. But how we manage these 5 intangibles on a day-to-day basis actually determines how good we are at running something. Now, I'm not trying to say that, okay, if you do all of these really well, you will just automatically be successful, because unfortunately there is no such formula and there are other factors too. But what I'm trying to say is that if you don't have a sense of how you do these, because all of us will be good at some, bad, not so good at some, then you have a lesser chance, because I've observed this pattern in all the CEOs that I've interviewed. So we'll start with decisions, okay? So just to make this a little more fun, I'm going to play a game where you have to vote. Okay, so decision-making is the number one thing that all leaders do, okay? Whatever business you're running as an entrepreneur, whether you're running a unit, you're there to make a decision. So I'm going to give you a quote and an image, and I'm going to give you a multiple choice, and you're going to tell me who you think it is, okay? There's a technical glitch with the presentation. Okay, while they're fixing it, I'll tell you the quote was, I'm very careful about how much email I get. I only get 40 emails a day. Do you think that's from, this is totally different. We have to go back to the presentation. So do you think that kind of quote comes from Nandan Nilekani, or does that come from N. Chandra, who's the chairman of Tata Sons? Okay, you all know how much emails you get, okay? Only 40 emails a day for somebody of this position. Who could have said that? How many people think it's Chandra? Raise their hands. Okay, how many people think it's Nandan? Okay, it's a little more towards Nandan. So it's actually Chandra who said this to me when I interviewed him. And he said that, he was earlier getting 500 emails a day. And then he wanted to make sure that he was not just answering to emails all day, but that he was actually taking decisions. He said, my job is to take decisions, not to sit and answer emails all the time. So I have other ways of communicating to people. Oh, great, yeah. So we need the next slide. So this is his office at the time when I met him. And he was, before Zoom and the pandemic, he was one of the first people who said, I video conference 2-3 times a day. This was 10 years ago, 13 years ago. He actually said that, So the point is that when you think of decisions, how you take decisions, how are you enabling your meetings, your communication with the people around you, because that's how decision-making happens, typically. In any organizations, meetings and communication deliver decision-making. That's how it takes place. So that's the one thing to think about. Next one. Can I have it back? relationships, okay? So our part now, I think intuitively all of us understand how important relationships are, right? But I just wanted to say that for anybody leading an organization, whether you're running your own setup or any kind of setup, right? Relationships are really, really important internally with your employees. And the one thing people said to me, even in industries that were very, very so-called, hard industries like banking, technology, infrastructure, people would constantly come back to me and say, people are the most important thing. So the R in relationships is very important. But how are we managing relationships on a daily basis? What does that look like? So it's an office which has a very unique vibe. It was conceptualized to make it very expressive. There's a lot of energy and passion. It's very collaborative because collaboration is, of course, the biggest and the most consistent expression of relationships that I have seen in the last 10 years. So is this the office of Google or is this the office of Boat? Who's Google? Boat. Is there a clue in there? Why do you say that? Because it's not Googlish, yeah. So this is Aman and Vivek. This is their office. And again, huge amount of collaboration and energy. And you could make out that relationships over here are getting a lot of priority. The third part is ideas. Now, this is where I think what ideas looks like, that vision has really changed. Okay, so earlier I think there was always this idea that the CEO is a person sitting in their cabin and they're coming up with the ideas themselves, and that vision of that archetype of CEO has completely changed, of leader has completely changed, because now, as I said in that initial poem, it's all about purpose. It's about having impact. It is definitely about the money also. It is about the size you want to be. It is about how you can engage with people around you. And so I think the relevance of ideas to businesses is very, very important, and sharing that is very important. Okay, so this company says that we call ourselves the DJ who fuse sports and lifestyle, and joy and energy are very important elements of our work culture. So is this the Dream 11 office or is this the Puma office? Dream 11. Oh, that's well spotted. So yeah, this is what's there on their walls. And the CEO, when I met him at the time, he even had a slide in the office because there was some space. He said, it's too slow to walk down the stairs. I'm just going to walk up and down the slide. Both, he walked up also. And there was so much energy. They had a rock climbing wall. They had just an amazing energy. But what is interesting is not just the cool office. What's interesting is how they've taken the idea of joy and energy at work, and they've translated it into the office space and told a story about their brand and about their business and made that come to life. Then finally, values. See, now every company and every outfit that you go to always has values. Many companies put up their values on the walls, but there's a big difference between having the values on the walls and actually having the values and truly living the values, okay? So the one company that I met was really, really interested in sustainability and energy, and this is what they said. So being green implies a mindset of frugality, not wanting to waste, and also looking at it as an opportunity. Can you make something out of it? So you're doing sustainability, not just because it's good for the, part of ESG or part of keeping an investor happy, but because you genuinely don't want to waste anything. So this is where this person is coming from. The office is pretty simple. It's hard to kind of make out what is green. But do we think this could be like a Renew Power? Or do you think this could be a company like Thermax? Thermax, Renew, few. So it was actually Thermax. And, it was very interesting. The person who was running it, Meher Padamji, very, very simple, frugal person in her own life, and all about not wanting to waste. So, these were a few examples. And then finally, energies. Now, energies is, something that we all wake up in the morning. We have a lot of energies. We think that we're going to, but at the same time, towards the end of the day, we're always aware of how limited it is. I think the one big surprise for me when I was talking to all these business leaders was I realized that they make time to nourish their energy. We say, okay, we've got so much going on with our family commitments, with our personal commitments, but pretty much every CEO I met either had fitness or art or spirituality or music or reading or some other interest to nourish themselves. And so the question I really want to ask you is, how are you nourishing yourself? Where are you doing that? What are the sources for that? Where are you managing your own energies? Because prioritizing time, I think we all want to be organized. We all want to make the best of my time. For me, in particular, this is something that's pretty important. I'll tell you why in a minute. But energy is very an important part of the equation. So the last one that I'll ask you to guess, I read on weekends, on flights, in the car, in the gym. So this person is reading all the time. Sadly, not as often as I would like, but a lot of CEOs were not reading, but this one does. So much so that they have books of quotes that they like from other authors, and they cut and paste those quotes into these hand-woven books, and they keep them. So is this somebody like Harsh Mariwala, or is this somebody like Anand Mahindra? Harsh Mariwala, why is that? Little more colorful, okay. You haven't read Anand's Twitter account then too much. Oh yeah, it is Harsh. So the point is, by sharing all of these stories, I'm trying to get you to see how these things that are very intangible can actually become very, very tangible in your day-to-day life. This is what something like decisions or relationships or ideas or values or energies could look like day to day. So I'll share my dashboard, and then we'll talk about yours in a second. So this is the thing about the dashboard. When I looked at the first slide, it was all very even, right? All the circles were the same. It looks like a seamless road. But the thing about driving, right, why I use the drive metaphor, is because when we learn to drive, we've actually got many things going around. We have to focus on the brake. We have to focus on accelerator, clutch, mirror, road sense, every horn, everything, right? And when you start off, it's hard to do all of those at the same time. And when you're an entrepreneur, you've got limited time, resources. It's really hard to pull all those together. But what every driver needs is alignment, right? It's about, you're never going to have a bumpy road, but you always want to be a smooth driver. So this is the idea that if I look at my own dashboard, I'm in the business now of ideas. I'm basically a solopreneur. I write, I teach, and I do keynote speaking engagements for companies, right? So I have my own business. I have a small team of people working with me, freelance. So for me, the ideas part is very, very important. The other part that's very important is the values. It's curiosity that keeps me going, for example. So values, ideas are really important. The energies piece is very, very important because I live with bipolar disorder, so I have to manage my mental health very, very carefully. So that's big. And in all of that, I kind of deprioritize the relationships, or I don't invest in the external relationships as much as I could. Faye is sitting right here, and my team member Kriti is here. Kriti has been telling me for months, please reach out to Faye and connect with her. So it's exactly those kind of things that I possibly fail to do. And I think when we're all building a small business, there are always those extra engagements or relationships, others that we would like to reach out to. And then finally, decision making. All of these things affect our ability to make decisions. So the idea is to have kind of as balanced a dashboard as possible. So I'm very curious to know what your dashboard looks like, and we're going to do a Mentimeter little survey, which is exciting for me because I'm doing it for the first time. So let's see how that goes. So what I wanted you to do was to just fill this in. Yeah, the code is up there. Go to menti.com. You've all got the phones. And just look at yourself. Let's get a sense of what the room is like. When you go to menti.com, if you use that code 51740648, let's see how we all... So what I want you to do is just rank from the highest, which is your first one that is most important for you, and then just go all the way down to the others. What you're actually doing, what on a day-to-day basis, what does it look like? What does your drive dashboard look like? And this is not to be a judgment at all. It's just meant to be a reflection tool for you to see where the room is, where you are, and for you to be able to use the dashboard for yourself. Any comments on this? Are we still voting? So I think we can stop because I think the time constraints here. This is very. I mean, I did expect that in a room full of women that relationships would be pretty high up. Okay, so it's not very surprising to me. It's nice to see values up there, and I'm not surprised that decisions comes at the bottom. Okay, so I think this is the thing that if you did this in a room full of men, and I'm sure I could do this in another occasion and see what they come back with, but I'm sure decisions would be quite high up on somebody who's in that position. So I hope this is helpful for you. Would love to have a conversation with you. I'm on all the socials if you need to understand this better for yourself, and look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.
Adi Lakshmi.